had been accumulating these songs for many years. I worked mostly back then, mostly as a touring musician and as a producer for other artists. And in between that, I would work on these songs. And what was great about it is that there was no real intent to make it into something specific for the first time. And that was a new thing for me. And by just kind of trusting that process, I ended up with a collection of songs that I was really proud of. Maybe for the first time. I'd been writing music for a long time, but I didn't feel any of it was really, that representative of my own taste. So, over maybe 3 years, I accumulated these songs and recorded them in various different places. And eventually I turned my head and I had an album. Honestly, there was no real global concept for the record. It's very mysterious. You start writing one song, you focus on it, and then another appears, and you just try to finish them. And very mysteriously, towards the end of the process, you realize that they actually are connected thematically. I realized the same themes kept coming up in the lyrics, this influences musically, and by the end of the process, I realized that it was a record. But going into it, I didn't have a rigid concept of what it was going to be. It's a lot of trial and error. I think like many musicians, most of us, we listen to so many different types of music. And sometimes when we commit to one sound, you have to mourn the possibilities of having other sounds in it. So for me, it was just kind of a process of going back and forth, balancing all the things that I liked, and eventually arriving at this blend that felt finished for me, The goal was not to overthink it too much, because I tend to overthink a lot in music, and especially in the past. I would never allow myself to finish songs, I'd always criticize. So this process was very much just do what I like. I mean, not in a conscious way, but more you're following your sense of taste, right? So let's say you work on a song and then you start arranging it and you feel, that feels too old school. Let me balance it with some more modern sounds. And then, no, that's too modern. That's not sincere enough. Let me balance it, and going back and forth like this, until I arrived at this thing that felt authentic, My whole mindset going into it was like, I can't think about that too much. This is my first record. It has to be an introduction, to get my foot in the door, to show people this is what I can do, this is what I love, If I were thinking about those things too much, I wouldn't have let the record come to completion. But I'm surprised that a lot of people resonated with it. A lot of people away from where I live, too, people reaching out, across the world, saying that they connected with it. A lot of other musicians and producers, which I'm very happy with. So I just had to get it out, I love melody. I love pop music, the language of pop music. So it was just, let me put all these things out there. It may not be as cohesive, but it's what I needed to do, and so I stand by it. Mm-hmm. You learn from it. By the end of the process now, I think of all these things I could have done differently, which is always that way, I think, in the creative process. But I think, I tried to find a balance between all these things. It's the best I could do, or else I would still be working on it, if I didn't let it go. Hallelujah Showers. It's a name I've always had in the back of my mind. It was something that I heard, a phrase that I kept hearing a long time ago, and I held on to it, waiting for the right time. And as I was working on the record, I'm like, nah, it can't be that, And it kept working, and eventually the themes of the music, like we were saying in the lyrics, kept connecting. And this title really, really fit all those themes. So I thought, okay, that's it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to trust the unconscious. I think the lyric process is kind of the same. It starts off with, for me, it's mostly the music. So there's a cadence, there's the melody, there's the musical ideas. and then there are some words that appear, and we don't know where they appear from. They're just there. It's not a conscious decision. Where the conscious decision comes in is, okay, now you have these words, you have this music. How do I make it into something? So from those little pieces that you're just given, you've got to work and fill in the blanks. And the process of writing for me uncovers the meaning, you know. So it's not the opposite. It's not starting with something I want to say and then writing. It's as I'm writing, as I'm finding things that resonate, things that feel like they work in the structure, meaning arises, you know. I agree that if an artist starts with an idea, a very very defined idea of what they want to do, and it becomes very aestheticized, then you can achieve that, but that's all your music will be, right? Whereas when there's a sense of mystery, you're advancing in the mystery, the things might not be as clear, but they can be so much more powerful, so much more resonant, and the words and the melodies together hit you in a way that you can't describe, you know, that your conscious mind can't fabricate. I think both sides exist. Within pop music, there's a sense of craft, right? Of the structure of the song, and the melodies and the chords, how they're unraveling, and how those things affect us. And I think there's so much amazing craft that goes into it. But like you said, to me, art has to be balanced with a sense of mystery, or else it loses its enduring power. You know, my father's American, my mother is half American, half Canadian. You know, we were traveling a lot when I was very young, and eventually we settled, my mother and I, in Montreal. And I mean, Montreal in itself is such a unique place for music, especially, and coming up in that city. At the time I came up in, I was very fortunate to witness this this sort of bubbling of all these different music artists, especially from Brooklyn and from New York. A lot of them would come through Montreal and play. So very young, I got to see, you know, Animal Collective, Dirty Projectors, you name it, you know, TV on the radio, all, you know, that whole scene. And that impacted me a lot. And I don't think I would have been able to absorb all those influences if had I grown up somewhere else. I think, you know, sadly, when we refer to Montreal and to a lot of the artists coming out of it, it used to be more in the past. Gentrification has hit the city in a very hard way, and a lot of the reason why so many artists from North America entirely flocked to Montreal was because there was, you know, affordable rent, many venues to play, and there was a whole community of musicians, and everyone was doing something different. You know, it wasn't very homogenous. So you could just kind of do your thing, and the pace in Montreal is much slower than other places I've been to in North America. So it's very conducive to art that's not necessarily commercially minded, you know? Then we went through, you know, the pandemic was very tough on the city. A lot of venues closed down, rents started going way up. And, you know, a lot of the Montreal that we knew was starting to slip away. But I feel now there's a whole new generation of artists coming out of Montreal, like you were mentioning La Sécurité, who are amazing. And I just feel something, you know, it's cyclical, right? And now Montreal is kind of coming back, you know. More music, that's really the goal, you know. Because I do the recording, the production, the writing, you know, it tends to take a lot of time to make the music because I'm by myself. The next step, I would like to surround myself with some more people, you know, people who can help out with production and arrive at more unexpected places than when I'm just on my own. But I'm working on some new music, and still producing, still touring. You know, music is my life. It's my everything. But new music for sure. Locally, in Montreal, for other artists, francophone artists, hispanophone artists too. So it's something I love doing. Incredible. Like already, we've only been here a few days, but already you feel. I mean, I feel an acceptance maybe from the crowd here. Everyone's so open-minded and obviously very musically inclined, which helps. So sometimes back home I'll play some shows to really confused faces because they don't really have the point of references. Sorry, there's a doggy there. But here I feel like I'm taking it a bit more seriously, maybe. So it's a good feeling, for sure. There's so little of it. I only have one album, so start with the album, Hallelujah Showers, and if you can listen to it in its entirety. It's very short, but it was designed that way. And then I'd say if you can catch us live, please do, because it's a whole different experience. We rearranged the songs for the live setting, so they're a lot more muscular, you know, and I'm getting to love these songs even more than when I made them. I wish I could record the album now because of everything we've been doing, like developing. So, not to toot my own horn, but like, come see us. Like, start with the record, come see the show, and if you support the cause, thank you. I totally understand anyone who. I think as artists, inevitably you reach walls, right? Whether that be imposed by other people close to you, your family members, or the industry, or you know, changing trends in society or whatever. And when you reach that place, it's easy to despair. But I think what helped me, get through and make this record was to remind myself of the healing property of music. As human beings, music is something we've done forever, since the beginning of humanity, and there's a reason why we do it, and it is so valuable. And if you devote yourself to music, I understand the circumstances are different, are difficult. It might seem like a folly, but the devotion to music is rewarded somehow. It's rewarded by what the process does to you, how it balances you as an individual, how it helps you connect with your community. It's invaluable. So I think before anything else, go back to that. The healing property of music, because that's something that will never go away. It will never go away, and the circumstances around you will always change. Success comes, success goes, it fluctuates. There's so many things that are unpredictable, but that is something you can rely on. The process of making music is a healing process. The more you advance, the more shocking it is how manufactured things are. I think that's another thing as an artist. As you advance in the industry, you can be disillusioned by a lot of things, but go back to the power of music, because there's something in you that needs to be expressed. That's why you became an artist. That's why you are an artist, right? There's something in you that needs to be expressed, and when you do express it, doors open in your life. It might not be the ones you thought, but positive things happen. Bob Dylan, he says this thing. He's like, music attracts the angels in the universe. And I think that's true. You do it for the right reasons. There might be difficulties, and there's difficulties with any path that you commit to. But if you commit to this path of being a musician, take on those difficulties, you will be rewarded. I really believe that. Absolutely. I mean, the album was made on a laptop. I mean, just that in and of itself is is a totally like revolutionary thing. Like, people are making albums that way. It's the majority of the way people are making albums actually today. I think the technology is it's always changing, it's always advancing, but yeah. I mean, I think it would be difficult, but at the same time, do with what you have. I made the album with what I had, what was around me, what I had access to. Don't wait until you have the proper tools to do it. The tools will filter and dictate what your creative process is going to be. You got to keep moving. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can understand why artists would want to align with a producer to help them, guide them. I mean, I do it all the time with other artists, but it's like I don't think I'm there yet. Like, I've always felt like I learned this craft of producing so I can realize these things that I'm really specific about, you know, that I love about music, and that it's hard for me to put into someone else's hands. But maybe one day I'll meet someone I'll really connect with, you know. But it's like I don't want other people messing it up. You know? So yeah.
All right, here we go.
Solitary, so solitary.